You're watching CBS 5. Now, Eyewitness News.
Bill, you want to say good morning?
No, I'm reading. I'm doing my homework and stuff. I'm stunned by your presence here, Ann. Together again.
He's Bill Scheckner. I'm Anna Durangelo.
Thank you so much, Mom.
It's 7 o'clock on this Saturday morning, the 23rd of October.
Getting back to this morning's most provocative question, it's no fun if you have to ask. Do you know how to negotiate your way through your job, or perhaps the rest of your life?
You know, we need help on this, don't we? Up next, our career expert, Dr. Ketchum, is here to help. He has the do's and don'ts of all sorts of negotiations. Bill, listen up. Skills can come in handy, whether you're looking for a job or dealing with clients in your current occupation. Our career expert, Dr. Ketchum, is here with some tips on how to talk the walk. So you are saying that people can learn to negotiate. You're not just a born negotiator.
Well, that's right. Good morning, Ann. Some people are better than others naturally at this, but the good news is that it's a skill that can be learned by anybody. Now, if you've ever tried to negotiate with your 5-year-old when you're in the toy store about getting a certain toy, you've had your negotiation skills put to the test. Okay,
so let's assume that it's easier when we're all adults. What are some mistakes people make when they're negotiating?
Well, the first is treating the other party like the enemy. That's a no-no. The second is going for win-lose outcomes, and the third is being very inflexible in pursuit of your goals.
Okay. You know, some people choose to hire other people to do their negotiations.
That's right.
Is that wise because then you're removed, or should you assume the role of the third party when you're trying to decide that the other person's not the enemy? Is that a kind of a...
Well, it really depends on the situation. For like a high-paid professional like yourself, I think, you know, throwing a little money aside for somebody to negotiate for you might not be a bad idea.
It's that high-paid professional thing you got me stuck on. Okay, what about the keys to success? What do you need to know if you are going to undertake a negotiation?
Well, it's a cliche, but number one, you want to go for win-win results. Number two, you want to put yourself in the other person's shoes and see it from their perspective. And number three, you want to assume that everything is negotiable. You know, when I grew up, it seemed like everything was a price on it that was fixed. We were too afraid to ask people, you know, are you sure we can't do a little deal here on this stereo system or whatever it might be?
Okay, and so if I decide, okay, this person's not the enemy, I want to go for win-win, what sort of action do I actually take?
Well, the very first thing, this is what I call the money shot tip on negotiation, is don't let yourself be put on the defensive. Now, many times you get into a negotiation, and that's what somebody will try to do, and they'll try to do it by either attacking you or attacking your credibility to make you the focus as opposed to what you're trying to negotiate. So the very first thing is don't let yourself be put on the defensive. Deflect that and move it back to the task at hand. You may say, let's get back to the main issue if somebody tries to pull a move like that.
Okay, just call them on it and then move along. We showed a graphic up there. Build trust is another one of those.
Okay, so in terms of action steps, you want to build trust because that's the neurotransmitter of any negotiation. Number two, you want to not be afraid to make the first offer. And you know, a lot of people say you make the first offer, you lose. Well, that's not true. The only exception is if you're negotiating a pay package and you don't have information on the market and what's bearable in the market, then you don't want to make the first offer, but otherwise you can. Number three, you want to set a goal but have fallback positions to get back into, and you may have to take baby steps to get to your ultimate goal. And number four, it is a cliche, but go for win-win, because if everybody doesn't get a little bit of what they want in a negotiation, then the agreement is not going to stick.
Okay, I have two questions I got to get in here. What if it's not working? What if you're in the middle of this meeting, it's fallen apart? What do you do?
Well, one thing you might suggest that you just take a break and resume later at a different time and a different setting, because sometimes changing the setting can help. And then finally, what I call the ripcord move, if nothing else is working, you may want to, and this sounds really childish, you may want to fake a cough and excuse yourself from the room to get some water to give yourself a little bit of time to gather your thoughts.
Okay. Now, I knew you were going to do that. I was going to try that one on you first. Okay, before you let you go, I want to ask you this. What if you're trying to negotiate with a spouse, a child, a client? Do you go for it all at once, or do you take it bit by bit? I want this little piece and then that little piece. Or do you go in there and say, here are everything I want?
Well, I always assume that you start strong and then work your way back from that, especially if you're talking with a kid.
Okay. All right, Dr. Ketchum. Thank you. Bill?
Thank you, Ann. When Ann gets back, we'll talk about the height of the chairs and the color choices, and we'll work our way through this. Watch the end of the show. There'll be big differences.